ever stop and wonder if you could be related to everyone with your last name?
Just think if you're a Lincoln, how you'd be congratulated if Honest Abe were someone you could claim.
To clear up any mystery, just check your family history.
Genealogy's the name of the game. Now some ancestors you'll find you want to hide,
but most of them will fill your heart with pride.
Oh, your family tree, your family tree. Check your genealogy, find who was who and how who came to be. On your family tree.
Welcome, listeners. It's time for the Genealogy Radio Show, the show that's keeping you in the loop. And we're delighted to be back for Series 7, Episode 1, Clans and Surnames, Tracing Your Irish Ancestry. And we're going to have a fun 12 weeks having interviews, sources, information for our listeners all over the world. Now, today's show is a mixture of different things. We're going to be looking at sources to populate your family tree when you draw it, some recommendations on apps, and some recommendations on military archives and history. And all of these will be explored in depth in later shows for this season. But it's important just to go over things generally, because these things are how you fill your family tree. You always start with your ancestral research by starting with yourself and moving back. So it's very important to talk to your nearest and dearest, and also to go up into the attic and search through all the photographs and the letters and start putting some organisation on those, even if you can't read the handwriting in them and so on. And there's some fabulous things to scan these records so that you have them on source and you don't have to be taking your valuable documentary archives with you when you go to trade shows, which are an excellent resource to find out about your family history, or when you're sending the sources to other people or sharing them on Facebook posts and so on. Because social media in genealogy is an excellent resource for populating your family tree. So first of all, when you're looking at your family tree and drawing it, you start with yourself and you decide on a plan of organisation. You must take notes as to what you're looking for. Are you going to be looking at your maternal side, your mother's line, or are you going to look at your father's line? Or are you going to look at both together? You may have gaps and spaces, as is normal for anybody doing this type of research, and you may find that the people you have spoken to are telling you untruths without even realising that they're telling you things that aren't true, because we hand down our memories and we believe what we're told, and if our family members tell us something that they believe to be true, we tend to believe to be true. And the documentary sources can be at odds with what we find out, so what we know. So the military archives are an excellent record in Ireland, and I'd like to make a few recommendations here. The Atlas of the Irish Revolution, which has just been published in September 2017, is absolutely a fantastic piece of research by a lot of different contributors on this very famous period of Irish history. And I know that it has just a wonderful selection of writers. John Crowley, who's an editor, lectures in geography at the University College Cork. He is the co-author with John Sheehan of the Iveragh Peninsula, a cultural atlas of the Ring of Kerry, and joint editor of the Atlas of Cork City and the Atlas of the Great Irish Famine. These are things that you may not think of locating as really important genealogy sources, but they are, because they're of such high quality for background. The Atlas of the Irish Revolution is actually out of print within a few weeks, and you will next be able to get it in November. I have a link to give a discount on the Atlas of the Irish Revolution. I've been very fortunate to have secured this from Mike Collins for the listeners of the Genealogy Radio Show and for those who contact me. So I will put up a link to that, and feel free to contact me on it through the show and so on. Now, Donal O'Driscoll is a senior lecturer in history at University College Cork, and he's also published widely. He's an editor of the Atlas of the Irish Famine. Mike Murphy is a cartographer at the department, and he's done previous cartographic work, including the Atlas of Cork City and the Ring of Kerry and so on. There's an associate editor of John Borgonovo, and he lectures in history at University College Cork. He has published widely on the Irish Revolution, including the dynamics of war and revolution. And we've seen what's happened with 1916, just how much legacy that has revealed for Irish ancestral sources for us. And we're going to be going in to this period of time now that will suddenly reveal an awful lot more. The military archives are available online free of charge, and I'll be talking about them in a few minutes on the show. And to be honest, these type of army censuses of 1922, the military bureau, the witness statements, these are a treasure trove for anyone researching their Irish ancestry. Maybe some of their people have emigrated in the 1850s, but they can still connect with those who are remaining on the ground from 1916 onwards. So the Atlas of the Irish Revolution, a must, and you can order it and get it online. And as I say, I have a link to a discount on it of €9, which is useful to people, and I will be happily sharing that with you. And the Atlas of the Irish Famine, of course, of which we did a show on it, a must. It's just a perfect reference book and marvellous resources. Now, for the National Archives pension records in Ireland, there are around 600 files in the Battalion and Company Roll series, and you can get these on the Military Archives website. And this will deal with the membership of the Irish Volunteers, the IRA, the Cumann na mBan, na Fianna Éireann, and the series gives details of membership strength of these organisations as of July the 11th, 1921, and as of the 1st of July 1922. And it comprises a total of 49,982 individual documents. So in the case of the IRA, you get the membership of the brigades, battalions, companies, flying columns, active service units and other specialist formations at the battalion and brigade headquarters, and the officer membership and so on. So all this is extremely important. So you can get that at www.militaryarchives.ie. And that was the official place of deposit for records of the Defence Forces. And it's just fantastic. I know some people may have found it difficult to find things, but I know that once you persevere with this, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, what I found on irishgenealogy.ie, which was most informative, was the Irish Army, a 1922 census of the fledgling Free State Army, searchable on the Irish Military Archive site. So again, it gave me a link to this census of 1922. And I looked up my own grandfather on that, and I found him, and I found his next of kin being John Maloney. I found his address, Ballybeg, County Clare. I found out where he was, down in Castle Island, County Kerry at that time, what battalion he was involved in, and that gives me a huge lead into telling me that his father was still alive, so on, telling me who he was, everything. So I get a window into the world of my great-grandfather because it gives the next of kin in the Irish Army 1922 census list. The British Army. The original records are all in the British National Archives in London, so you can get them in www.nationalarchives.gov.uk, and The surviving service records of the First World War are transcribed at ancestry.co.uk. Pre-1914 service and pension records are at findmypast.co.uk. So I know that you can go to libraries and use Ancestry and Find My Past, but there are also fabulous subscription rates as well. And this is where you do get the records online that you need once you know what you're looking for. There's also a voluntary project to list Ireland's World War I veterans at worldwar1veterans.com, and you can search for Ireland's memorial records for World War I as well. There is a Royal Irish Constabulary, a part index to the LDS microfilm copy of the original RIC register. That's on Ancestry as well. And I know that there's an absolutely fantastic Facebook group on the RIC as well. Many of these Facebook groups are well worth joining for the amount of information that they can supply and give you on your queries. So do join them and contribute. And by sharing our information, we can get an awful lot further and so on. Now, my next part of the show, I'm going to move on to talking a little bit about apps on how you organise them. And I've just been fortunate enough to buy a second-hand Chromebook, and I'm very impressed, I have to say, because I would have thought, okay, it doesn't use this, that, the other thing, but it's excellent for certain apps for organisation which are compatible with desktop versions. So Trello has come out top on an organisation aspect for an app, and Evernote, of course, very, very good. But Trello is free, and it is absolutely a gift for genealogists because you can create cards, checklists, update links, share links, update documents, and so on. And it is an absolutely fabulous resource. So these are the kind of things, if you are on the move and you want to keep a grip of your ancestral research as you go along, these are a great way of doing that and of staying organised and being able to manage. There are a number of events coming up which you can bring all these sources to, and I'd like to mention Back to Our Past, which is happening October the 20th to the 22nd in the RDS. There will be many stands there. And even if you can't get there, there are many resources on the website that you'll be able to link into from overseas. And I was looking at them myself, if I was not able to get to the actual show, what could I gain out of it? And I found a lovely family research record from Brian Wilson of how to trace your Northern Irish ancestry, starting with a 3-pronged approach, and it was absolutely fabulous. It gave me the amount of parishes, where I could find information on those. John Grenham has an excellent resource of researching locale and place and surname and so on, and it was absolutely fantastic, a way of looking. He started with the 1901 and 1911 census, then looked at John Grenham's resources for location, and then went to census substitutes. So that 3-pronged approach for any part of genealogy research in Ireland won't let you down. The census substitutes, the tithe allotments, Griffith's valuation, and of course 1922 Army census could be seen as a partial census substitute because we don't yet have access to our 1926 census, which I'm sure will be absolutely wonderful in what it reveals, because there's such a gap between the 1911 and 1926 census. So this is why anything that fills in that gap, there should have been one in 1921, but it couldn't take place because of the unrest and so on the ground in Ireland at the time. So all these historical facts are really important. So going back to Our Past, if I was looking for information on that, I would be able to get my various different resources and find out what type of presentations I can see. And for many of these type of events, you should always type them in and see what is available online, because they'll put up a list of articles. So Tracing Your Northern Irish Ancestors, a 3-step guide. On Pust, Witness History Museum opens, Suffer Little Children. All these mention of this can really help. Don't know where to start on your family history? I'm just having a look at that now and seeing what it can tell me. And this step-by-step guide from Back to Our Past, military collections from World War I and other major conflicts are available. Where to start? Write down what you already know about your ancestors, just the facts, not the rumours. So what you exactly know. Ask your family, especially the older members. And as I said, search the attic, check old photographs, letters or documents and other heirlooms for clues to the past. Build your family tree. You can start building a family tree at Find My Past. It's free to use and totally secure. And there's also one on Echo as well. So there's a piece of, you can go online and use Echo, import GEDCOM, export it out. It's a great way of doing things online as well. Put the initial information you have acquired into your tree and begin to grow from there. Add any extra information that you find along the way. Births, marriages and death records, so that's your BMDs, and you start populating your tree according to that. Certificates provide a great deal of information, such as parents' names, occupations and addresses. Census and census substitutes. There's newspaper reports, and then you can broaden your search. So any collection, new collection, keep an eye out on blogs, information, Facebook announcements, talks coming up. They can all give you great resources to suddenly start creating and populating your family tree. We have done many initial introductory shows on this at the very start of our genealogy radio show, and now we're further along where we can populate using collections, using sources, and be able to make our research a lot more sophisticated. So I'm delighted to tell you that we're now going into our fourth year of the Genealogy Radio Show. So this is an anniversary of 3 years of doing the Genealogy Radio Show, and it certainly has flown here in Radio Cork. And Radio Cork is a community radio, and it runs many other wonderful shows and has an excellent staff which have assisted me greatly in the production and presentation of this show for the last 3 years. We have all the show's podcasts, and they are available for you to listen to. And they now provide a valuable resource for those who are tracing their ancestry, because of course we keep up with the latest inventions, the latest collections, the latest sources, the latest publications, and genealogy has to do that, because as our information needs to grow, we need to look at the sources that are adding to that. So of course I do the genealogy school in Nina in May the 13th to the 18th 2018, and you'll be hearing a lot from the speakers of that for this season and next season of the radio show. We have Paddy Waldron, who'll be bringing the DNA expertise. Paddy Waldron is no stranger to expertise for County Clare and for what he provides on that, and he'll be well able to do that. And we have Dr. Paul McCotter, who's an expert on DNA also, and also on locale and a medievalist of renown, and Kenneth Nichols, who will direct and support the school with his wonderful advice on and knowledge, which is of worldwide fame, and so on. So we really do have a fine mixture of speakers. Ursa Callahan, who'll do all the newspapers and bits and pieces, and we'll be interviewing them so that you'll be able to see what's on offer at our school in Nina and see that practice-based genealogy certainly has its place. So you may have all the sources, but learning how to use them in a practical manner is a really, really important thing to do. So I am going to be putting up some links, and the podcasts are available on clansandsurnames.com. They are also available through rcb.ie, because we do make sure that we keep them and make sure that you're able to listen to them. And if you can tune in to the show, it's even better. We repeat it on a Sunday. And you can text us on 089 422 8491, email info@rcb.ie, Facebook, RCB Radio, Twitter, Radio CB. So we really do have a fine mixture of sources for you. Next week, we're going to be looking at further ways on how to research your Irish ancestry and trace your Irish roots. And we'll be looking at data protection and what goes and what doesn't, and the ethics of how you display your information and so on. So I look forward to talking to you then. Goodbye for now.
Did you ever stop and wonder if you could be related to everyone with your last name?
Just think, if you're a Lincoln, how you'd be congratulated if Honest Abe were someone you could claim.
To clear up any mystery, just check your family history.
Genealogy's the name of the game. Now some ancestors you'll find you want to hide,
but most of them will fill your heart with pride.
Oh, your family tree, your family tree. Check your genealogy, find who was who and how who came to be. On your family tree.